When many of us think of SpongeBob, we think of the cute, childish, and funny TV show we used to watch as little kids growing up. However, as we grow older, we start to notice the underlying inappropriate jokes and hidden meanings behind our favorite childhood shows.
Sorry, Sandy, I have to go get my haircut.
SpongeBob doesn't have hair? Or does he?
Looking deeper into the show SpongeBob SquarePants, many could argue that each one of the characters represent one of the 7 deadly sins described in Proverbs chapter 6 and Galatians chapter 5, known as gluttony, lust, sloth, greed, wrath, envy, and pride. In this case, SpongeBob represents lust, Patrick represents sloth, Sandy represents pride, Squidward represents wrath, Mr. Krabs represents greed, Plankton represents envy, and Gary represents gluttony. In the Bible, lust is usually defined as sexual desire. However, lust can also be described as an excessive love for others. When you observe SpongeBob, you see a super nice, yet super clingy and annoying guy. Anyone familiar with the show knows that SpongeBob loves his friends unconditionally and excessively. He continues to love and admire his neighbor Squidward, who hates and constantly mistreats SpongeBob because, according to Ranker.com, he is so blinded by love that he is oblivious to the fact that Squidward finds him annoying, often comically misinterpreting Squidward's sarcasm and anger. No matter how many times Squidward slams a door in SpongeBob's face or denies their friendship, SpongeBob continues to obsess over him, believing that they are best friends. SpongeBob loves everyone around him, even if they don't love him back. SpongeBob's unhealthy obsession with his friends and Squidward symbolizes a child-appropriate version of lust. SpongeBob's lust coexists with Squidward's never-ending wrath. The Bible defines wrath as uncontrollable hatred towards the world in general. Squidward seemingly hates everyone and everything, especially SpongeBob. He hates his job, his life, and all the people in his life. The only time you ever see Squidward smiling is when he's inflicting his hatred on others. For example, in the show's first Christmas special, Squidward takes great pleasure in observing the teary-eyed SpongeBob as his Christmas is being ruined when Santa fails to show up. Despite deep sorrow, SpongeBob's lust prevails, as he continues to be Squidward's best friend. This is just one of many examples in the show when SpongeBob and Squidward exemplify the deadly sins attached to their characters. By far, Sandy Cheeks is the smartest yet most stuck-up and prideful creature of Bikini Bottom. This Texas-bred land creature, living in an air dome under the sea, is known for her scientific smarts. It is easy to see that Sandy symbolizes pride. She is from Texas, without a doubt the most prideful state, where everything is bigger and better. Sandy certainly thinks that she is bigger and better than everyone under the sea. She is so determined, she attacks SpongeBob and Patrick for making fun of her Texas roots. In the Bible, pride is defined as lack of regard for others. Disregarding SpongeBob's inability to breathe air, Sandy invites him over to her air dome, where he has a near-death experience due to lack of water. Sandy's obsessive, egocentric, and prideful mindset is a perfect fit for the deadly sin of pride. Next on the list of characters is the laziest sea creature, Patrick Star. Patrick, beyond a shadow of a doubt, represents the deadly sin of sloth. In the Bible, sloth is defined as an excessive laziness. There is no one lazier than the pink starfish himself. He sleeps and eats under a rock day in and day out. In fact, he is so lazy he wins an award for doing nothing in Big Pink Loser. Besides excessive laziness, sloth also refers to the failure to utilize given talents, which Patrick seems to do a lot. Sometimes Patrick demonstrates massive strength. Every day he lifts up a giant rock up to climb under. In one episode, he becomes a karate master. The problem is that the big pink sloth abuses his given talent of massive strength to indulge in his own laziness instead of helping others. Patrick isn't the only one who likes to eat all day long and indulge in himself. Our favorite sea pet, Gary, likes to do a lot of the same. Gary represents the deadly sin of gluttony. Gluttony, as defined in the Bible, is the continual consumption of food or drink. We hardly ever see Gary on the show, but when we do, it's because SpongeBob is feeding him. It is revealed later in the show that Gary is descended from loyalty, along with being highly intelligent. Gary's intelligence is displayed numerous times. For example, he taught SpongeBob how to tie his shoes and even appeared in one of SpongeBob's dreams as a highly intelligent, rich, and successful librarian.
There once was a man from Peru who dreamed he was eating his shoe. He awoke with a fright in the middle of the night to find that his dream had come true.
Ah, gee, Gary, you sure are smart.
Did you think my shell was full of hot air?
One sea creature who wishes he was as rich as Gary goes by the name of Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs, the greediest, cheapest, and most money-hungry creature of them all, represents the deadly sin of greed. Greed, as described in the Bible, is the excessive love for money and material things. Not one person in the world loves money as Mr. Krabs, and certainly no one does overpriced business as well as Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs is extremely dedicated to his money, so much so that he sold SpongeBob's soul for less than $1, loses both of his arms digging a dime out of the garbage disposal, goes into a grave robbing business for extra cash, and even went as far as to frame his first dollar. This crab will do almost anything for money, making him the epitome of greed. Mr. Krabs' arch-enemy Plankton will do almost anything to stop Mr. Krabs from making money. In almost every episode, you will see Plankton trying to steal the Krabby Patty formula instead of making something of his own. Plankton's excessive desire to obtain what he cannot have from Mr. Krabs most certainly embodies the deadly sin of envy. Envy, as defined in the Bible, is the desire to have an item or experience something someone else has. Instead of trying to excel at his own restaurant known as the Chum Bucket, Plankton sees how successful Mr. Krabs' restaurant is and does whatever it takes to try and steal the unobtainable Krabby Patty secret formula to which Mr. Krabs owes his success. However, no matter how hard Plankton tries, he will never be successful. Due to his envy, this doesn't stop him. Plankton is even green with envy. Although this theory may not be true, it might be easy for some to see the possible religious ties between the 7 characters in SpongeBob and the 7 deadly sins. It is strange to think about how such a funny and harmless children's television show could have much deeper and darker roots than we know. Who knew the goofiest bunch of characters under the sea aren't so innocent after all?